Hello friends, welcome to Symbaroum. This is a TTRPG system created by Järnringen. This is the third episode of our little game here, Ambria and Davokar, dungeon mastered by my good friend, Obdurant. Obdurant, please take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Obdurant. I am the dungeon master for this session, and joining me are three party members, Stella Luna, Kory, and Vertigo Cross, who are playing Mayera, Dane, and Pekome Bori, respectively. Would any of you like to recap what happened last session? Where we left off? Not it.
Shopping!
Really? Not it? You were very pivotal to what happened last.
Okay, last time on Symbaroum, we made it to Thistlehold, and Mayera went shopping, and Pekome got us a place to live, and Mayera came back with more than just some shopping. Came back with a dog. And crap, I don't remember what the dog's name is.
Oh my goodness.
Bone Crusher?
Bone Crusher, yes!
It's a pretty iconic name.
Bone Crusher is kind of like a small, scrappy-looking terrier. Perfect for catching rats. Definitely crushing very tiny bones, if any. But still a puppy, so it's not in the prime bone-crushing dimensions quite yet.
Yeah, it's still got a bit longer before it's a full-fledged abomination.
Yeah, I think some other things happened too, but that is all that Mayera cares about right now.
Well, there was an incident with Dane that maybe he could tell us about.
We all nearly got arrested, and Dane introduced his tried and true tactic of play the dumb savage barbarian who doesn't understand social rules. That way we get out of trouble. Which worked.
Oh, you had a head.
We had a head collectively, and we forgot to deal with the head collectively to take it into the bounty office collectively.
Dane singularly.
And Dane is the only one that dealt with the problem. Singularly.
I'm actually pretty sure it was Mayera who stopped us from being arrested by being the only person to say it was a bounty.
No, Dane said it was a bounty first, but he said it in a stupid barbarian way so that then people would forgive the other members of the party when they clarified it.
Being fortune hunters, trying to establish a name for yourself, you may have done something to secure a job, maybe, that you were going to follow up on.
Yeah, we've got to go see book nerds of some sort.
And Stella flirted with this ex-adventurer guy?
That's ex-adventure.
His name
All
is
right.
Rayvold, and it's the start of a beautiful thing, okay? He likes my dog.
His name is Rayvold, so that's good. I was worrying that we might not have any degree of specificity here in the
Listen,
recap.
my notes say Rayvold, Fortune Hunters District, will help. Cutie with a patootie.
There you
I was
go.
wondering if you had any notes about his butt. You did not
That's good.
disappoint.
He was a thick boy.
Alright, that's canon now.
All right. So we left off after you guys left Rayvold, actually. You had a discussion with him, and he pointed you towards the Ordo Magica, of the more formal name for the book nerds that Kory referenced, because they had recently hired a hunter named Aldous to go out and retrieve something for them, and it was supposed to be a relatively short trip, maybe 4 days or so, and it's now been at least a week, and she hasn't come back. And since you guys were looking for something to kind of dip your toes into the whole adventuring shtick, and it could be a little bit of a competitive market, he suggested maybe you go talk to them, and they might, whoever was responsible for contracting Aldous' services might be interested in checking up on her, or more likely, the contents of whatever it is she's supposed to be retrieving for them. And he suggested that you head that way. It's the afternoon right now, we'll say, and you could head over there, or you could do anything else that you want to. So the ball is in your court.
Are we certain we have enough supplies? Does Meira need to go shopping again?
Meira has no coin.
No one has coin.
Meira spent all her coin.
Dane was given less coin than anyone.
Meira was given Dane's coin and spent that too.
So, Dane has no coin to go shopping with.
However, we do have a ton of new supplies that Meira has brought in. I believe we split up the things that she got at the elixir store. But among the things...
And then she hid half of what she actually got so that they wouldn't try to return it.
Yeah, hands off my crayons, y'all. But we do have like fishing line and hook, we have needle and thread, soap, whetstone, whistle, fishing net, spyglass, pocket mirror, climbing equipment, grappling hook, weapon maintenance kit, a tent, a fishing net, crayons, bandages, arrows.
Koran.
Yeah, you won't know that we have half of that stuff, but we do have them.
It'll be easy to find on the horse.
Yes.
I mean, it's a pretty bold assumption that you'll remember to bring the horse with you.
Horse.
So do you guys head over to the Ordo Magica?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was the plan. We kind of agree. From what I remember, that was
Yes.
what we agreed on last time.
Yes, it was. All right. Okay. So you head down Winter Street from the square where you now live, or well, rent, and then turn onto Summer Street. And before long, you're at number 30, the Ordo Magica. And it's actually a nice couple buildings that are hidden under Pecome now. And as you approach, there's sort of a courtyard area. There's a stone bench that looks quite clean. There's a tree. It's all very, very picturesque. And the main building in the courtyard is, like almost everything in Thistlehold, it looks quite new because none of the buildings are really, they haven't been around for too long yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clearly some sort of research area. There's another building that's more set up like a set of domiciles. It's where probably the masters and the other members of the order live. And the doors to the library, or so it appears, are open. As the three of you walk up, you enter into sort of a reception room, and there's a clerk behind a desk with sort of rumpled robes, and he's leaning forward, sort of cushioning his head with a hand as he pores over some scroll or another. And the sound of Peiko's armor makes your appearance quite clear. So he looks up. He looks a little disgruntled, but he stares the three of you over for a couple seconds and then goes, "Here to access the archives. That's going to be one thaler, and you have the rest of the day. We do close at dusk, so you'll have to make it quick."
I do not believe we are here for the archives. We were hoping more to talk to a person.
The scribe has already looked back down at whatever he's reading, and when you say that you're here for something more involved than just paying to go in, he looks a little irritated. Kind of pulls the glasses off his head and puts them down with a very, very forceful on his desk, and looks up and he goes, "A person? Who?"
That depends. We need someone who knows information about a missing employee of yours.
Kirk leans back and sourly considers Peiko. And then shrugs and says, the Ordo employs all manner of people. I have no idea what you're talking about.
What was her name again?
All this.
Yep, her name was Aldous.
Meira has very helpfully not brought her new puppy.
He could have queued it our way in, Stella, so... Picome is going to, like, walk right up to the counter and be like... well, hold on. Well, she's not going to be like this, because I've already forgotten
What have you forgotten?
the name already.
All this.
Aldous.
Aldous.
Yes.
Alright. So she's gonna say that we are looking for a woman named Aldous who a week ago was sent on a errand for the Order.
The name doesn't seem to mean anything to him, but when you say a week ago she was sent, he kind of pauses, and in the midst of his being irritated by your existence, he sort of reaches up, kind of rubs one side of his face, and then says, a week ago. I think I know what you're talking about. Well, if it'll get you out of my hair. And he leans over to kind of point out a set of stairs that go up the into a higher level and deeper back, which is clearly not the direction of the main archives. He says, just go up there and ask the first person you meet to guide you to Master Cullinan Furia. And very intentionally, he looks down, picks up his glasses, puts them back on, and starts reading.
Picome heads in the direction with only a moderate amount of distracting noise.
Yeah.
Meira's links after.
Okay. And Dane follows after as well. As you folks find your way upstairs, you do run into a novice of the Order who kind of looks a little alarmed when you mention Master Furia, and he guides you down a few corridors and then to a door that he does not touch himself, but he points it at, says like, that's who you want, and then he beats it out of there real fast.
Is there a knocker on the door?
No, it's just a door. It's so it's a wooden. It's all the interiors are wooden, and the door itself is just a very plain wooden door with a knob, and really nothing else. You know, hinges.
All right. She's gonna wrap her gauntlet on the door
How many times?
Yeah. How many times?
twice.
Twice.
Dun, dun. Ooh. That's 3.
Apparently, Picome fell over after knocking.
All that armor, man. You hear nothing for a few seconds, and then there's a sort of rustling that gets closer to the door. And then the door swings open, and you see this old man. He looks like he could be anywhere from his late 50s to his late 70s. He's a little bent over, his features are very weathered, he doesn't have a bunch of hair, and what hair he does is sort of white and greasy and long and patchy. And he starts back at the sight of Peiko just standing in the doorway in a suit of
Looming
armor. Yeah, looming
menacingly.
in his home, fully clad in armor.
Hey, I
He
knocked.
starts back and he lifts his staff, which he is leaning upon, or was leaning upon before he lifted it, wardingly. He goes, who in Prius's name are you?
She's going to stand up even straighter and say, I am Picome Bori. Me and my group have been tasked with finding a fortune seeker named Aldous, who was lost a week ago helping you.
Kind of tilts his head to the side and peers at you for a couple seconds and then goes, I hired her. Who's tasked you with that?
A man named Rayvald pointed us in the direction.
Ravel. I don't know who that is. Who's hiring you to spy on my fortune hunters?
Pecome stands there menacingly for a moment.
Meira looks ominous and hooded behind her.
Okay.
Dane's going to wave at the guy from behind these two and try and look friendly.
Yeah, we're doing bad cop, strong cop, and smile cop.
So, yeah. Master Furia is looking increasingly unnerved by your presence. And he starts sort of lowering his staff to support him again, and he straightens up a little bit, and he sucks in a deep breath. And then he sees Dane's, goofy wave from the back of these two hooded and armored people who are standing in front of him. And it just kind of puts him off a little bit. He looks even more unnerved. And he's going to lift his voice, and he's going to shout, "Guards!" And just about instantly, you start hearing booted feet coming from further down the corridor. Just a chorus of "ba ba ba ba" as people start approaching from somewhere out of sight.
We are here to help you. Clearly, her mission had already failed. If you want anything back from this, help us help you.
So
Yes.
about 5 men in chain hauberks fill into the corridor further down in the direction opposite the way that you would come from, and they very quickly sight you out and start approaching. They don't have weapons drawn, but they do have swords, which are short enough to maneuver in the rather narrow confines of the corridor. And they've got hands on hilts as they approach, looking quite stern. Master Furia has backed away from the door, which is still hanging open, and he has a hand beneath his robes, while the other hand is still on his staff. As Peiko begins to do a slightly better job of explaining herself, his expression hardens just a little, and he doesn't say anything until the guards arrive, at which point they are going to sort of begin, depending on your reactions, to sort of bodily push you back, not down the corridor, but against the side of the wall that is opposite his door. Do you comply with this?
Dane's not getting in the way.
Okay.
Meira looks at Dane, but seeing Dane not stop, she will comply.
Okay.
Pecome looks at the guards and then slowly moves herself to the other side of the wall.
They definitely help you. They will lay hands and kind of shove you back from the door. One of them will slide into the doorway to look inside and say, like, "Master Fury, is everything okay? Who are these people?" And is there anything else, and any other reaction from Peiko immediately?
Not immediately.
Not immediately. Okay. So once the situation is a little more controlled, Master Furia waves a hand at the man's concerned question. And he pulls himself closer to the doorway again and stares up at Peiko without getting within arm's reach, certainly, and not even coming all the way around the guard who's between you. He says, "You were sent to help me. You belligerent, miscreant scoundrel. Who do you think you are? If you want employment from me, you come asking. You don't make demands. You don't show up without an appointment. I don't know who you think you are, but you've done this all wrong. All wrong, completely wrong." And he slides his hand back out from beneath his robe, and it's empty, and he sort of shakes his head a couple times and then goes, Fact is, Aldous is missing, yes. Now, if you have the gall to show up and make a nuisance of yourself in my very home, as if you don't know what powers you're dealing with, then you'd best make yourself useful and find her. Now, I don't know who you are, and there's so many worthwhile treasure hunters in the city that you can't get from one side of the Ordo to the other without tripping over a dozen of them, so I don't know if you think you're meriting any payment, but I'm not going to be giving you anything in advance. In fact, and he kind of sucks in a deep breath through his nostrils in a very windy and a little snotty gesture, and then goes, I'll pay you if you come back with what she was sent to retrieve.
Pekome glances at the other two to make sure that they're being treated all right.
Oh.
Provided that Dane and Meira are really not trying to do anything right now, they are being treated well, insofar as being stared at quite hostilely. But they aren't being, roughed up or anything.
Yeah, Meira is pretty compliant.
Yeah, Dane's not getting in the way of anything.
Okay.
She's gonna speak up then and say that we came here solely for information, so that way we could better succeed at this task for you. We did not want to break out of order of how things are normally done, but we believed that time was of the essence for you.
Time is of the essence, you lumbering maggot, but you know what else is of the essence? Not making a complete and utter fool of yourself. And the way the guards look, it doesn't appear that how Master Furia is behaving right now is all that out of character. They're definitely alert, and they're eyeing the three of you warily, but as the conversation has gone on, they've sort of adopted these long-suffering poses. They might be familiar to his outbursts. Anyway, he continues. I promised Aldous 30 thaler if she were to come back with a set of Cuneiform Tablets. Now, these tablets are called... doesn't even matter. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know what a Cuneiform Tablet was if I didn't describe it to you. It's a tablet of cuneiform with writing on it, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
She's supposed to retrieve them for me, because the former group that was supposed to retrieve the tablets only made it part way before being assailed at the split of the Eanor River, northeast of Thistlehold. She went to investigate the nature of their predicament and to retrieve the writings, and she has not been back.
And how much were you going to pay the original group?
Seeing as only one of them survived and has already made it back to me, I don't see that being any concern of yours.
He made it back to you.
How would I have known where they were attacked if he did not make it back to me?
We did not. Maybe he did not survive. He could have got the news out and then died of wounds.
That is exactly what happened.
That does not sound like making it back to you.
He made it back and died. He is dead, but he arrived in Thistlehold before, and he stamps his staff on the ground and then says, if I have to speak to you for 3 more minutes, I will have you thrown in with wild beasts for the entertainment of the mongrels outside these walls. Are you going to do the job or not?
Mira kind of looks over at Dane.
Dane shrugs. And then slowly nods.
All right. Pekome is going to change her stance as if she's about to get ready to leave. She's just gonna say, "We will do the job, but clearly it's been more dangerous than either of the previous groups thought if both have gone missing. Maybe warranting a slightly higher commission."
Mira face palms.
Spittle just flies from Master Furia's mouth as he trembles, staring up at Pekome. And he says the first group had to travel more than 4 times as far in the first place. You ingrate, but here, there's several people who fell along the way. Maybe you'll find valuables on them. By Prios. Aldous had I gave her 20 thaler before she set off. If you find her body, you're welcome to the sum. And he takes the door and he slams it shut, and it rattles in its frame, and then you hear, kind of muffled, him shout, "Show them out, guards!" And the guards, for their part, kind of exchange glances with one another, and then look back at the 3 of you, and then just silently nod back the way that you came.
Dane starts going.
Pekome is just going to say blessings of Prios on them and then start walking off.
None of them... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Mira says, we will make an appointment next time. And she just kind of slinks away.
So, yeah, the lead guard goes, oh, well, glad you're learning. And they shadow you. Kind of nicely. They leave a little space, so it's not like they're forcing you out, but they definitely follow you back all the way down into the awning of the reception area and watch you leave. You step back out into the late afternoon sun, and you have stock of information. It wasn't perhaps the most useful conversation that you could have had, but you have learned where all this was heading and more or less what she was going to retrieve. So it's a big step up from before the errand.
We should buy a map.
We have them.
Let me see the map.
Pekome is going to raise it, lower a hand protectively over her satchel, and then slowly pull out the map and hold it towards, open towards Mayura, but not handing it to her.
Okay, so you can see a map that looks like a less impressive version of this.
At a distance.
At a distance.
Adjust your zoom level.
Adjust your zoom level, yeah.
Okay.
Because this resolution is gorgeous.
So Meira will search for the river. The river named Eanor. Anyway.
So, this is the River Eanor.
Oh, Eanor! Huh.
I was staring at that river like it's the only. There's only 2 named rivers. It has to be this one, but it sounded nothing like what she said.
I figured it was what she said, but she was saying it in Meira style, which means, it's like...
Thanks.
Yeah.
No, I'm just bad, okay?
It's okay. This is the river that he mentioned.
We
River
must go
Eanor.
northeast into
Mhm.
Davokar.
You said where the river split.
Yes. Yes.
So here,
And
Well, that's up
named-
to you.
Didn't he name it?
Hmm?
Didn't he name where the river splits?
Nope.
That's where they.
He just said-
He said northeast where the river splits.
Oh,
That's as
where
specific
did
as he
the
got.
first group?
We didn't.
I don't think he said.
yeah.
Mhm.
He said they had to go over 4 times as far.
So we could assume that they have been going along the river,
Okay.
and then they made it to the split, and apparently something's been happening. And where was the location that we originally heard all this was going before we heard
We
that she
didn't.
was at?
We didn't.
I don't believe you knew anything
Okay.
about it, but she was tasked with going to the same spot. What he said.
Basically, we have
is,
to go
um,
here.
Honestly, that's not too bad. It's only 10 feet away.
It's only 10 feet. Yeah, it's a very short trip.
Yeah, we can just go north till we hit the river and then follow along.
Yeah, you could do that. So probably from the scales of the map, which are unreliable to say the least on your purchased copy.
Are you telling me that Volgoma is not 22 feet?
Yes, I am telling you that. So you can guess that if you were to head out that way, on a straight line shot, it would probably take about 2 days, assuming that you navigationally got it correct. If you were to go north and then follow the river, it might also take 2 days, depending on how smooth the terrain is. It might take just a little extra. So if you're just going there and back, you're probably looking at 4 days, 5 days, maybe a little extra if the retrieval ends up taking longer than you think it will. But all in all, it seems like a fairly short trip, and you certainly have the supplies for it.
Do we? Has Dane eaten all of his supplies yet?
It's a good question.
Dane was eating the way bread on the way to this meeting.
Yeah,
So he's good for now.
he's good for now. All right.
All right. He ate the least perishable thing first.
Worry not. We have a
Also
fishing
the most
line.
filling.
He's a fishing line. Very good.
Well, if you plan to do fishing, we should get to the river as fast as possible. So we should go straight. And then
We go north.
all right.
I will take my dog to Ravald and have Ravald watch my dog.
Picome whispers a blessing for the poor man.
Meira shows up at Ravald's door.
Rayvald opens the door when it's knocked, not like presciently or anything.
She says, "Hello, good afternoon."
He stares down at Mayra, And is she still wearing a guise of a pretty Ambrian, or what does she look like right now? I mean, I know
think
she's
have
mostly
to
cloaked,
roll
but
again if I want to do that. No, I think she wouldn't bother. She'd be wearing her disguise, obviously.
Okay. So he looks down, and his gaze is mostly focused.
On the
And
dog.
after a moment's examination, he goes, "Aha! It's my hunter friend. Come in, come in." And then he looks down further and sees Bone Crusher. Kind of goes, "Huh? Is that a dog?"
Possibly. I must go away for a few days. I would like you to watch over Bone Crusher, and I will pay you for the trouble.
Oh. They'll pay me. Well, I like dogs good enough. And he kind of stoops down, and he's pretty, big. I mean, he's in shape, but he's a tall guy. So he stoops down and he looks at the dog, and then he holds out a hand for it to sniff, and he goes, you bring out any food for him?
No.
Maida just shoves 2 Thaler into his face.
He just lets out this sort of laugh and then takes the money.
Feed him anything that will make him fat. I need him to be big and strong like you.
And he laughs again. He lets out this deep, barrel-chested laugh. And goes, "Ha ha! Oh, well. Hear that, little dog? You're gonna be big and strong. I can do that. Say, what's his name?"
Bone Crusher.
Bone. What a great name. That is a great name.
Mira blushes under her mask.
Probably doesn't notice that, but he does blink a couple times and refocuses, and then looks down at the dog, and he's like, "Oh, well, come in," and kind of moves to the side and ushers the dog in through the doorway. And he looks back up and he goes, "Oh, well, and he doesn't say anything.
Maida just kind of stands there and she's like, "Goodbye."
He goes, "Yeah, right. Have a great trip. Try not to die." And he'll step back and swing the door shut. And then you hear the indistinct but very loud noise of him talking to the dog as he moves deeper back into his home.
Let us go. I shall lead the way into Davokar.
Okay.
So you guys head out now.
Actually, that's probably not very smart. Because okay. Would we be able to make it to the fringe of the woodlands by night?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It would take you probably between like
A couple
10
hours?
minutes?
Oh,
No.
okay.
Yeah, there's a fire break that there's basically only a fire break between Thistlehold and the forest line of Davokar.
Okay.
It will not take you long at all.
You can see better now that
Keiko isn't in the way. Yeah.
Okay, so we should probably spend the night in our new home.
Yeah.
That is a great idea. I wasn't gonna mention it if you decided to go, but
We will
probably a good one.
we will move before first light. Go to bed. Now.
Okay. Does anyone not go to bed, get up to night shenanigans, or do we just move right along?
Yeah, I think we can move along.
All right, fantastic. It's morning then, You wake up before the break of dawn. Pack your things up. Peiko, you might want to recover another stat point there. Pull yourself together just a little more with every passing day. And you head for the northern gate towards the Toad Square. Do you take your horse with you into the forest, or do you leave it behind?
We take the horse.
Yeah,
take the
I think
horse.
taking the horse is the best plan.
Okay. That is totally fine. So you pass through the gate in the morning, and you set off northward through the forest to try and find the bank of the river Eanor. This portion of Davokar is actually fairly well traveled. There are some footpaths that head off northwest, and of course, Dane and Meira are very familiar with them as they head up through the Odeova territory. But that isn't the way you're going. So you break off and head straight north and leave the well-trodden land for the more or less less touched, we'll say, not untouched. Bright Davokar, as the forest has been divided by the scholars between Bright and Dark Davokar, is composed of the reaches of the forest that are closer to Ambria. And the classification is such. Bright Davokar is where the trees are far enough apart that the light can touch the ground. And some people have a bone to pick with the definition. They feel like it was chosen more to be overly cloying to the church than for any practical reason, but it does serve as a decent rule of thumb for how dangerous it is. And Bright Davokar is far more survivable than Dark Davokar. And there's quite a bit of rugged beauty to it. You pass through a lot of land that just appears pristine and fairly quiet. There's the sound of life here and there, but for the most part, your crew and your horse continue along, and there's enough room that the animal can maneuver without really being that detrimental to your travel. I would like one of you to make a cunning roll to sort of encompass your navigation for the first day. And it's going to be just a flat cunning, no particular modifier or anything like that.
My cunning
Yeah, I
is
think-
5.
How's Pecamaze? How's Pecamaze?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I guess
Yes.
I decided it was no longer listening.
That's okay.
My cunning is 9.
Hey, I'm the best.
Oh, I'm okay. So that's good to know. But also, I told you the wrong thing.
Oh.
When I said
it vigilant?
cunning, what
You
I
meant
meant
vigilant?
was discreet.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
All right. So Dane's trying to figure out the sneakiest way through the forest. Meanwhile, Meira's like, we're gonna go the smart way.
Okay. Excellent. So your first day of travel goes pretty well. You don't run into anything. How do the three of you react to sort of shedding civilization and forging out into Davokar?
Nikome is constantly complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to take a moment to roll an ability real quick.
Go right ahead.
Dane is constantly eating and happy.
Okay. So Dane's just sort of snagging this and that, a mushroom
Yes.
here, some berries there.
A rabbit hit on the side of the head once per day with a rock.
Just
It's his ritual
like thrown or
It's got a sling.
okay. Just I was trying to make sure I had the right mental image here.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
rabbits
I was-
walk up to him
I-
and
He
What's
just
on-
solidarity.
he just brains them.
Just boom.
yeah, it's
Alright, so,
If
you
any
got a
rabbits
sling.
do that, that's what's happening.
You're stunning some rabbits and picking them up and breaking their necks and then eating them on the go.
No, those are saved for you know,
Those are safe for meals. All right,
cook.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a Disney princess that bashes the animal's head in.
Yeah,
Oh,
naturally.
speaking of being a Disney princess, yeah, birds' nests.
Bird's nest, right? Eggs.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
Meira seems to be at much more ease now we are away from the walls of Thistlehold. She moves nimbly from trunk to trunk, climbing over things like a spider.
A spider. Okay.
Pekome is just gonna like keep a rather large distance from Meira.
Uh-huh.
Meira
And what are-
makes very little sound when she moves through the woods.
What are some of the main complaints that Pekome finds about Davokar?
Unrefined, disgusting, absolute hellhole.
Okay.
How could they possibly live here?
Ah, you are describing Thistlehold.
Great. So the first day's journey does take you to the bank of the river Eanor. As you reach it, it's probably late afternoon, so you still have some time to travel along it. Rivers are not safe by any means in Davokar, although at times they can be quite a bit faster to travel on, not so much by, like you guys are, but on, than actual hiking, and people have at times used them to sort of expedite their journeys. You, however, hang a right and start heading east, I hope, along the bank of the river. The trees are a little thicker along where there's so much access to water, so the ground becomes just a little less even. You probably have to track along the course of the water, just a little inland.
I think that Meira would try to guide the group to follow the river, but not literally on the river bank.
Mhm.
Just kind of using the sound and direction of the river as their guide of like which way is east. But it's probably much more dangerous to be up by the water.
Yeah, absolutely. So you hang back. You just kind of try to keep it in sight every now and then.
Yeah, as long as we get a sense of it, we don't even have to see it. As long as we can like hear it and get a sense of like the river's going that way.
Okay.
mhm.
Cool.
Pekome, being fiercely untrustful of the forest, tries to keep it in the edge of her vision at all times.
The forest?
The river.
The whole forest. The river. Okay. So would Meira relinquish the point and get a little closer than comfort for the sake of staying together, or
Yes, Meira would definitely voice her opinion.
It is not safe with the water. You can see the river, and the things by the river can see you.
And the things in the river.
Yes. You do not want to meet the things that live in the water.
I don't want to meet anything in this forest. Nothing is safe. Everything sucks.
Then follow my lead away from the water.
No.
and then Meira will relinquish and just obey.
so the group treks along the water, not on the water, but closer than might be prudent. And occasionally there is a glimpse of motion here or there from the water, but it doesn't manifest into anything more than a sort of a glimpse of movement in the corner of your eye now and then.
Meira will tell Dane,
The good thing is, if we find any bears, we can outrun Pekome's armor.
Did I hear that?
yes.
Oh, I did
Yes.
hear it. Okay.
Dane will laugh since Pekome heard it. In that sort of sense that says, yes, this was a joke.
Meira gives finger
wasn't.
guns.
Without even looking at them, Pekome just says, "It's hard to run with broken legs."
Meira shuts up after you say that.
Oh my god. Alright, so our close-knit group of adventurers continue on along the river until nightfall. what do you do then? Do you push through without sleep? Do you camp? Do you light a fire? Do you stay dark?
At this point, Pekome would let Meira decide.
We should move away from the water and set camp. We should not light a fire if we do not need it.
I'm fine with not being by the river.
Yes. Things go to the water to drink. We do not want to be there with them.
So we'll set up camp in especially if we can find kind of a sheltering area, maybe some kind of rocky outcropping, something to use as a natural sort of barrier of giving us one less direction to pay attention to. Just
A
kind of
couple
set
of
up,
fallen trees.
yeah, some kind of natural shelter, and set up camp there without
Maybe up against
fire?
a hill.
Yeah.
Dane's big gut.
Listen.
Yeah, the territory that you've been hiking across so far has been surprisingly flat. Well, not surprisingly. I mean, it's been that way for hundreds of years. But it has been
Where did
relatively
these
flat.
hills come?
Yeah. And
That's a joke Meira keeps trying to tell everyone.
as you head further
One day they
east,
will laugh.
the ground does end up breaking up just a little more. The going's a bit more rough here and there. And by the time you're ready to camp, there is a hill with a rather steep side on the eastern side of the hill. It looks definitely more steep, and it takes probably an extra 30 minutes of travel or so away from the river to reach it. And as you get around, you can see that there are these cut-ins where just really massive sheets of rock that don't look entirely natural, but if they are man-made, were from some extremely bygone era, have cut into the hill and added some more extra contouring towards it. And you can find a relative shelter in that niche.
As long as these aren't the columns of Haganor, we are not way off course.
So, Peiko being the only one with the map makes the joke. But also, yeah, I mean, the columns of Haganor are way further away. And you would know that.
Pekome is going to glance at the map before reluctantly, but handing it to Meira, but staring at her the entire time.
Takes the map, snatches it, unfurls it, looks at it.
Yes, we are here.
She kind of gestures vaguely at the river.
Of course we're here. Where is here?
Here.
I'm just gonna gestures at the same spot.
Pekome sounds slightly less annoyed.
Go to sleep. I shall have first watch.
Give me the map back. She holds out a hand.
Okay, here.
And passes it back.
She rolls it back up and then gently puts it in her satchel.
See, this is why Meira has kept things like a spyglass and a pocket mirror to herself. Meira will kind of hang a little distance away from where we've set up our little camp and just kind of keep watch for a few hours.
Okay. Does everyone else turn in? Anything else you want to
Pekome-
do this evening?
Pekome is going to try to turn in, but she's going to have a lot of trouble.
We do have
Okay.
a tent.
She's very bad at being in the forest.
Clearly, Dane is going to be handling the not watch-related, let's say, household tasks of camping.
Uh-huh.
Cooking food, eating food, cooking more food.
Eating food, cooking more food, setting up the tent. Yes. Those are the things he'll be doing. And then he definitely doesn't take first watch. In fact, he'll probably take last watch. As a rule, that's what he's negotiated regarding him doing all the chores.
He gets
Is-
last watch in your
Yes.
turn. Okay.
Yes. That's his. He goes to sleep, and he
And
stays asleep.
You mentioned cooking, so I just want to be sure. Did you light a fire to cook, or did you kind of just make do with cold food?
Yeah. I think making do is probably the case here.
If you want a fire, it must be very low.
Yeah. Like maybe every other day if we find like a really good campsite, you know? Like
Mhm.
obviously if we're gonna
Like, this sounds like it'd be a decent site because it sounds like we have a massive rock wall to our to our west.
To your west, yeah.
Yeah.
To our
okay.
west.
then this
No,
one
it was on the east side of the hill, so you wrapped around, and it's on
Mhm.
the west.
Okay.
Yeah, the west.
So if we
Oh.
were going to make a fire, this is probably
Yeah,
an
I
ideal
think every
place.
other day cooking the eggs and meat you find is like the goal as we travel.
And it's
so
just for dinner, and then you stamp it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So everyone settles down. Peiko keeps grumbling instead of actually going to sleep. Dane probably sleeps really well. And Peiko, you're up on watch for a little while.
Maida is on watch.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess I said Peiko twice there. Meira is on watch for a while. It gets dark, and at least an hour or two go by. Could you give me a vigilant test with an enemy disadvantage of -2? Okay.
Should have used your spyglass.
So it gets pretty dark, and overhead there are clouds that begin to roll in and obscure even the dim light of the moon and the stars where they filter through the trees. You can hear quiet movement just from the nocturnal life of the forest. None of it seems too unusual. There's an animal that might be trekking to the river or from it, but it's difficult to even catch a glimpse of motion to attach to the sounds, and none of them sound too large or too near. Before long, it gets so dark that you can't really even make out the camp itself. And the rest of your watch is really largely uneventful.
When it is time to change shifts, Mira will go up to Pekome. Put her hand on Pekome's helmet face and shake
Pick.
it.
Pekome wakes up by drawing her sword.
It is your turn.
Okay.
Mhm.
2 questions.
Yes.
Has Peiko been sleeping just in her armor?
For this night.
Yeah,
Because
sorry, for the trip right now
Yeah.
so far. Yes. Okay. Which sword did you draw?
The single-handed, easily accessible one.
Okay, great. Carry on.
She's going to, in the very darkness, try to figure out who is waking her up, and then
It is I,
Get up.
Mira.
as she announces herself, Pekome is gonna grumble and grunt a bit and then get up.
It is going to be very hard for you to watch the dark with your hat on.
She just pauses for a moment.
But it is not my business. Good night.
She just looks over at Meira, wondering if she's actually asleep.
I think Maida is used to like being outdoors, so it's comfortable enough that she just clonks out.
Does Dane snore?
Dane
I don't know.
snores. It's
I
canon.
feel like Dane would be a master sleeper.
Heck yeah. Maida has gained this attribute from her family.
Once she sees that Meira is asleep and checks that Dane's still asleep, she will unbuckle her helmet and slip up her hood.
Well, that's a good decision if you're on watch. So you stay pretty much with the camp while you're keeping an eye on things?
Pretty much. With always within eyesight.
Within eyesight. Good call. Do you just kind of stake out a post, or are you patrolling?
She would be too restless to sit in the same spot.
Okay, so you walk here and there. Could you give me a vigilant -3 roll? I can't alt tab because my keyboard isn't working.
It was close.
Yeah,
Nailed it.
yeah, you almost made it. At one point during your patrol, you bump into an enemy, just straight into them. And you take a step back, and you're about to attack, and you realize it's not an enemy, it's a tree that's been there the whole time. Other than that,
I kick the tree.
you kick the tree. Yeah, so there's a thud of metal on wood. And you resume your patrol, and you move back and forth. But honestly, through the course of your watch, you can't really hear anything beyond the sound of your own movement through the forest. It remains dark and very difficult to see. The fact that you're remaining within eyesight of the camp means you are quite close to the camp indeed. But fortunately, nothing sneaks up on you or interrupts you, at least so far as you can tell, and the rest of your watch carries on quietly.
All right, tentatively good. Until sudden death.
Potentially, yeah.
All right. She'll slip her helmet back on, take down the hood, and then poke Dane with the tip of her boot. And tell him it's time for his watch.
Alright, Dan will kind of sit up slowly, and he'll grumble, but he'll get to it, and he'll mostly just kind of sit still by the horse and watch the area.
Okay. And if you could give me a vigilant roll -2 as well.
Only the -3.
You went in the -3. Well, you didn't grow up in Ambria. So you successfully... Well, I guess actually... No, Peiko did. Never mind. Carry on.
Stop judging me.
Your examination is quiet. You do see in the distance, as dawn is just beginning to break, a pack of 3 or 4 Meerkats slinking away from the water. And they might be aware of you. They glance off in your direction once or twice. But they
Explain
clearly...
what those are for the Ambrian.
Yes, sorry, for the Ambrian.
You don't have to explain it to the Ambria, they're asleep.
So, Meerkats are a feared and reviled breed of felines that roam the southern reaches of Davokar. Definitely, sometimes they leave the forest to attack villages along the southern border, in fact. But usually when they're aggressive, they are in packs of 10 or so animals. They're on the smaller side, and one of their real reasons for being feared is that they have venomous glands to make up for their smaller side. They can inject prey with a very potent toxin that is difficult to cure and very expensive to cure if you have an apothecary on hand. And for many adventurers, obviously, they have no such thing. Every once in a while, a stray or individual cat can be spotted in Ambria itself, But by and large, they do remain in the forest. They are forest predators, and when they're not hungry, they aren't all that adversarial. They've actually probably been heard of quite a lot in the borders of Saragon, so Peko, were she awake, would be familiar with what the creature is. But this particular group just passes you by.
Okay.
Like when you hear tales of coyotes getting into towns and things like that.
Right, yeah. If the coyotes were a little smaller and sort of
venom.
squeezed through cracks in walls or tunneled under your house and poisoned you.
In your sleep.
Don't forget hairless.
No,
Ew, are they hairless?
no, they're not hairless.
Oh.
No, they
Okay.
are. It says so. I looked
Oh,
them
wait. Are they?
up. Furless.
Ew, that somehow makes it worse.
Oh, it is a furless. Yeah, you're right.
It's a sphinx kitty.
So what you're saying
Yeah.
Sphinx
is,
cats are cute.
A
what you're saying is
poisonous
Mayor would want it as a pet.
sphinx cat.
Oh, you must adopt them. But they will be our undoing.
Okay. So morning breaks. You folks wake up. You have time to sort of pack up and hit the road again, as it were.
Because
How do you
that-
navigate? Sorry, go ahead.
Because that sleep wasn't restful, I'm assuming I don't get the stat point.
Yeah, if you feel that you weren't able to, yeah, I would say that's a safe assumption.
Okay.
You did a real poor job resting, Peko.
Look, she just can't get comfortable in the woods. There's something about it that just makes her heart beat faster.
That's something
Mira
you might need to
slept
confront.
like a baby.
What?
Mira slept like a baby.
Okay. I'm proud of her.
Eat your food and we continue.
I don't feel like Dane needs to be told that.
Oh, she's 100% talking to Peko.
How did you
Big-
sleep?
Pegome is just gonna silently stare at her, judging her.
Ah, you are looking at me with your helmeted eyes, okay.
So, point of question about that. When Peiko's eating, does she just lift the visor, or does she do some big subterfuge to get the food in without, like,
She just
You know.
mashes it in through the grate.
oh, God,
She turns away, lifts the visor, takes a bite.
that's a workout. Okay.
You know what else is a workout? Having medium armor on at almost all times every day.
Yeah, you're right. Peiko's swole. Okay, so you have breakfast, you have some silent stares and some jokes from Mayra. When you guys set out again, what's your course? Do you retrace your steps back up to the river, or do you just kind of cut vaguely off in the northeasterly direction until you join your lateral to the river that you had formerly?
Does Dane say anything about the cats first?
Yeah, Dane will, as they start to set off, that's, whichever direction isn't in the direction of the cats, more or less, is
Yeah,
the
they
one
were
they
cutting
take.
from north to south, and they were to your east.
Okay, then it's gonna be straight north to, because he's gonna warn everyone, be like, you know, they did
Okay.
go over there.
So if you head straight north, you do in fact retrace your steps, and you can find that's not too terribly hard to follow just by merit of the sort of horse hoof tracks that line your path. As you get back towards the point where the river is just in sight that Peko likes and Mayra doesn't, I'd like Mayra, you're the guide right now, correct?
Mhm.
To give me a vigilant roll -3.
Well,
That's a 16 versus 10.
Okay. You don't see anything. Things
You've
just
gone
look
blind.
normal. You follow your own tracks.
Is
You
that
get to the point where you see the water, and then you
is that
hang
just
right,
one of us?
and you continue east. So I could see. I mean, if other people are actively sort of carefully following your course,
Oh, okay.
you are welcome to make a vigilant roll. I just kind of assume she's the main one doing that since she's the one actually trailblazing.
Yeah,
But
Dane's
you
more
can.
following after and trying to find
Pekome would be busy like looking at
more
everything
food.
around.
More food. Okay. Yeah, and Peiko's like, yeah, keeping an eye on other stuff. Yeah, so just her for this then. Yeah, and carry on. So for this next day of travel, it will call for another discrete roll. This time it will be at a -1.
Ooh, you're getting better.
No, that's worse.
Mm,
It's harder.
You're getting better. So much better.
Alrighty. So let's pull up our
Meira
table.
is not doing her best because she does not have the faith of her leader.
It's because she doesn't have the map.
Would you be so kind as to roll a d20?
Please don't roll a 19 or a 20.
yeah,
It's not a
okay.
19 or a 20.
Okay.
Better than we did last time, everyone.
It is an improvement.
It's something possibly we could
So
not die instantly.
if you would just sort of describe your travel together while I consult this.
Okay. Meira is kind of slinking along the river, telling everyone this is a bad idea. And she just continues on. She is kind of looking at the ground, trying to see tracks, look around. She definitely looks nervous the whole time. Probably looking over her shoulder quite a lot to complain to Pekome about
Pekome
pretty much
complains.
everything.
We're just arguing back and forth about this.
Yes, absolutely.
Dane's not participating in the argument out of choice, but also because he's spending a lot of the time stepping off to the side when he
And
sees
clubbing
something worth
rabbits.
eating.
Who's leading the horse?
Not Dane, because he abandons it so much.
And Pekome would hold tightly to the horse,
Okay.
not letting it out of her sight.
Mm-hmm. Maid is just busy setting the course then. Kinda. As would be represented by a 19 on a check of 10.
You are setting a course.
Okay. Excellent.
Oh no.
Don't say that.
So
Don't
you
say
got-
that in that tone.
Oh, sorry. Excellent.
That's
Worse.
worse.
Oh, I'll just give up then.
Excellent.
You guys converse and meander your way through the forest, and perhaps Meira has been lulled a little by the ease of the trip so far. The ground does get more difficult, but not so much that it's really an inconvenience to anyone who isn't Peiko, given all the armor. And you make really nice time, honestly. The day passes, you stop for lunch or a break here and there as you need to rest. And before long, the sound of the river is getting stronger and stronger, which makes you think that perhaps you are getting to where the split occurs, although it clearly hasn't happened yet. Noon turns to afternoon, and afternoon turns to dusk. And right around the time that you guys are kind of beginning to think of, maybe we should have a camp. And Meira has probably been thinking that for a little bit and been scouting for a good place to camp. when something happens. By the water, you don't notice anything at first until, as you're walking, the light seems just a little brighter down where the water is than it does elsewhere as the light starts to dim. And after just a moment or two, first Meira and then Dane and Peiko will notice I checked a number and then I completely forgot it. Okay.
It's okay. There was just nothing there.
A pair of pale lights. And at first they're far enough away that you can't really tell whether it's a light from some white burning torch of some sort or another. But after a moment, they kind of pass straight through trees that are maybe 10 or 15 yards away. And at that closeness, you can tell that these are simply pale, slightly bluish lights hovering in the air and drawing closer to the three of you. I would like for Dane and Meira to roll cunning, I guess, just to see if this is something familiar to you.
E.
Okay, so Dane, mystical fellow that he is, has heard of barbarians running into these. These blue lights are known as frost lights, and they are a very peculiar sort of... Oh, just a second. Okay, frost lights are a very peculiar sort of creature. It's difficult to call them a creature because most people wouldn't ascribe any particular intelligence to them. They're just these ephemeral creatures or beings or entities or whatever you want to call them that hunt for warmth.
Mhm.
They're perhaps a little more common to encounter when it's colder, but they exist year round, and they home in on humans and just try to leech the warmth from them if they can. There are legends among some barbarians, and particularly some in the Odeova clan, that frostlights are actually the souls of stillborn children or other babies that weren't successfully carried out. And they do not realize that they're harmful even. They just naturally seek warmth and they steal it from anything they come into contact with. And fortunately, you do know that they can be fought. So that's a big step up from your last encounter with something from Davokar.
Okay. I assume the fighting strategy that I've heard of is hit the ball of light.
Yeah, yeah. You probably do know that weapons work on them, but there's nothing to hit, right? So they're not as effective as you might hope. That said, they aren't completely ineffective, which is
Okay.
a roundabout way of saying you're gonna do half damage to them with normal weapons.
Okay.
I have a question about a not normal weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Do I only get corruption if I use the ability, right?
You only get corruption if you use the abilities on the Singing Sword of Murder. Yes.
Okay, so I'm allowed to swing and stab with it normally.
You can. Yes.
Okay, cool. Just information maybe necessary.
Yeah, that's good. Dane's going to speak first to his quiver, which he will cajole, hopefully, while eyeing it. And 5 bolts will, well, I guess arrows will just kind of float up from the quiver.
What do they look like? What color are they?
Brown. They're arrows. They float.
Is there any magic? Any wispy
yeah.
particles? What color are they?
I mean, he just kind of talks to them, you know? Dane's whole power is his own voice. He kind of just gets things, you know, he just asks questions of the dead and they answer.
Do the
it's-
arrows reply?
They don't.
Do they whistle slightly as they raise into the air?
They rattle as they come at, you know, knock into each other and float up, you know?
Okay.
But there's no, it's almost, you know, it's kind of mundane in this boring sort of way that there's no
He said
horrible ghostly aura compared to the things you're facing down, you know, right now. Dane is not that important seeming. And then yeah, he's gonna pass on that those are frostlights. And he's gonna start backing up a bit. That's better than last time.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
he's gonna kind of he's looking like he's thinking and, you know, relaying things on. You know, and he's gonna pass on unhelpfully that their main desire is to suck out your soul or heat. But it's good it's not winter. There'd be more of them.
That's a pretty good summation.
Picome gonna gasp a little bit and ask Dane, "How long have you been able to do that?"
Dane ignores this question,
Made
but
I
also
draws her
glares at
bow.
the arrows.
You glare at the arrows.
What so out of curiosity, the mystical power, is that like a pre-fight thing, or is that something Dane would do on his turn as an action?
So it is specifically an action, an active power, and
Mhm.
then I it does not paste this, so I will paste this.
Okay.
It is a free action from here on out to send forth an arrow, and it hits automatically because you tell it to.
Gotcha. Yeah. Alrighty, Nito Bruto. I've forgotten how to add tokens to the turn order.
Okay. We need to drag these out, and then you right click. Why is Pekome bigger than us?
Because I'm the map token.
Okay. There you go.
And also, I'm bigger than you.
I mean, everything's bigger than me.
Oh,
Hold on, let me give Dane a name.
Let me see if I can get my key.
Look, there you go. I gave Dane a name. You're welcome.
Okay,
Frostlight.
fantastic. If y'all would update your tokens with your initiative, aka
How do?
You click your token, and then you roll, or you
just
quick. isn't it?
punch in your quick. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all.
Oh, okay. 5. Where do we up? Oh,
You
5.
just click the number on the left.
Oh, wait. No, I don't think I get it yet.
Am I allowed to? I need to know. What did I have time to draw the big sword? Or was I wrong?
No. So, if you instinctively drew the sword while they were approaching, yes. If you drew it after the description that Dane provided, no.
All right. Well, then I am going to use. I'm going to do a quick check to see if I'm able to draw it fast enough to have it ready.
Okay. Just before that, what is your vigilant?
10.
Bad.
10. Okay.
What do you mean bad?
Their
It's not
vigilant is
14.
also 10. Just roll me a 1d2. Okay.
Hey!
Yeah.
Luck comes out.
Well, low numbers
Oh.
are better in this system.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is still my luck. I rolled.
So, Frostlights, do you go first? I'm not going to make a grid for this just because I don't think it's necessary
Mm-hmm.
for the particular encounter, given that they're completely mindless and they're just going to be advancing.
Oh. This is just for my own bookkeeping. No need to mind it.
So the position.
What?
What did you slash? Did
Oh,
you
it
put
got
slash
updated.
roll 0 instead of?
No, it got updated.
Oh, is your thing messed up? Yeah,
Yeah.
it appears that the character sheets have been updated since
Yeah,
we last
yeah, it
played.
got updated. It used
Which
to
is
just
neat
be
because there's
only
actually a
die
spot
4.
for you to put your shadow now.
Yeah, it used to only be die 4, and now it is choose an amount to roll for corruption.
Well, that's nifty.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the shadow. I was like looking everywhere for it.
How convenient.
All right.
So our formation, if I am picturing it right, is that Maya was leading, or Mayra was leading the pack, with Dane moving over to probably be next to me when the fight started.
Yeah.
If I'm getting it right.
Yeah. Thereabouts. So the first Frostlight is going to drift its way into range of Mayra. And it is going to just try to move into her. So Mayra, if you could, roll to defend with no modifier from the enemy at all. Enemy missed. All right, excellent. You dodge. So this Frostlight, mindless and seeking warmth, just drifts into the space Mayra occupied, but she dodges somehow, which you are free to describe.
Mira sees it coming, has her bow drawn, and she dodges deftly like a limber kitty cat.
Perfect. The second Frostlight is going to drift its way up to Dane. And it will also try to just move inside of him.
Don't let it do it.
Whoops. That's not how the defense roll works anymore.
Click
You
on
just click the little shield icon.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Do you... Sure.
Yes, I will click it again.
I think you don't have it set up right.
Oh, where's
The,
last time?
the impede is wrong, and then the attribute is wrong.
The impede. Oh,
Mine worked.
they have updated it a lot. Oh, okay. I don't think the impede is wrong.
Okay.
Because it should be not impeding. For light armor, it would be -1, but because it's flexible, it's 0. So,
Because you bought your new digs.
yeah.
Okay. Third time's the charm. Third time's the charm. Also, you get hit. Okay, so the
It's a bad charm.
Frostlight kind of just drifts right into Dane. And it's hard to see for Dane since it's happening to him. But Peiko and perhaps Mayra, if she isn't too busy with her own evasion, will just see this pale blue light just meld right through his robes, and then he's glowing with this light that's inside of him. Dane, it's very cold. Something icy just grips your chest as it pushes into you, and you feel this very strange sort of invasion. You are going to take 3 damage to your strong.
Okay.
Oh god, they do
Chilly.
stat damage.
They do.
Oh god.
Good thing you have
Alright.
a lot of strong to offer.
Mm.
So, clearly the answer here is to stab Dane.
And how many frostlights were there? 3?
Just 2.
Ah.
Yeah, one's inside you, and the other is trying to fuse with your sister.
Yeah.
All right, Peiko, it is your turn.
Alright, well, I'm going to start with a quick check to see if I can draw my big sword for free.
Okie dokes.
Do it. You won't.
Ooh, close. I did.
Neat.
Alright, she's gonna look at Dane for a moment, wondering how she's supposed to hit the thing inside him, and then just head over to Meira and go stab that instead.
Uh-huh. Okay. Let me open up a notepad real fast.
Does this have something to do with the big sword I pulled out?
No, it's fine. So go ahead and roll to attack. It has a disadvantage on defense of wait, hold up. I'm sorry. I gotta remind myself of the notation on how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Is a -3 a disadvantage of 3 or an advantage of 3?
Do you still have the reference for the goblins? Because then you could just compare that.
Yeah.
Because the goblins were a big positive to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually pulling
Even
up right now.
Dane could hit
It's in a
them.
different file.
In fact, Dane, I don't think could miss them.
Yeah, but the problem was doing damage to them.
That was true.
You kept clonking them, and they were just like, eh.
Okay, so the enemy disadvantage is going to be
+3?
-3. So yeah, it's harder to hit them is what it comes down to, because the goblins were +9 and it is -3.
Okay.
So it is in fact a disadvantage of -3.
I did it,
You did it,
and it's a
Nice.
magical weapon.
and it's a magical weapon. So you do 7 damage to it, which is a great hit. Good job. Everyone's proud of you.
So I want. So how this looks is like the thing flies towards Meira, and she just like bends backwards as it flies over her, and I just cleave horizontally above her.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah, you step over towards Meira as she swiftly dodges beneath the frostlight, and you draw your sword, which immediately lets out this keening moan as soon as it's out of the scabbard. Just this unnerving noise that's beginning to build, and as you swing it, the sword begins to just sort of scream in earnest. And it's screaming for blood, but it doesn't quite get that. Instead, you slice through the frostlight, and you do a substantial amount of damage to it. Maybe. It's hard to tell. It's just a blue light that's hovering in the air. But your sword does go right through it, and for a moment, the light pulses as if it's about to go out. Nothing else happens. And that is your turn,
Yes.
because you moved over. Yeah, okay, great. Which means we are on to Meira.
Meira will utilize her acrobatics to try to escape the melee.
Okie dokes.
But if you stay in melee, we're flanking it.
Okay.
Well, you're staying in melee, we're flanking
So
it.
I get to choose whether I move away and suffer a free attack or stay.
You do.
Remember, this is stat damage.
I'm gonna stay. Meira hops onto one other foot in place. And
Do you have a melee weapon?
I do, but I have my bow out.
Mhm.
How does that work?
You
Let
to
me-
switch weapons, it would be an action unless you have quick draw, like I do.
Oh, I thought you were gonna.
Can you use here? Let me just. I think the cheat sheet that I opened up may have.
It's okay. It's
Yeah, so you can use your movement action. So I'm not completely certain how it interacts with acrobatics, but if you use acrobatics and then you can decide whether to take advantage of it or not, I would assume it doesn't
The
like,
way that
consume your
it's
movement action?
worded makes it sound like it says, should the test fail, the player must choose to either remain in its original place or to move away and suffer a free attack from the opponent. So that makes it sound like I get to make the choice, but it still consumes it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In that case, you're kind of stuck. You could so switching weapons is a movement action. So if you didn't want to move, you could trade them out. You can do that as your second action. You can take 2 move actions, but you can't do that and attack because they would both be an action, and you're down to 1.
Okay. So I guess Meira will kind of, you see her kind of pivot on her foot, and she folds her bow away and draws out her dagger, and that's going to be her turn.
Excellent. All right, sounds good. Dane, you're up.
So if I don't, see, I'm trying to kind of understand how these creatures work, and also mechanically, because if it's just sitting inside me, it doesn't feel like anybody can do anything about it. But if it's sitting inside me, does it get a free attack if I do anything to get it out of me?
No. So in
Yeah.
terms of like
Yeah.
attacking it and moving enough that it isn't inside you,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Okay.
If you run away from it, it would get like a free attack if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
breaking. But
Yeah.
as far as, I mean, Peiko could have like shoved Dane to
Yeah.
get him away from it far enough for her to attack. Like mechanically
yeah.
speaking,
Okay,
there's
yeah,
no.
I
It's
gotcha.
just in you
Okay.
as an attack.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of get that fully.
That's fine.
In that case, Dane will probably just ready his quarterstaff, and whisper aside to a nearby arrow, which will just freely hit the thing. For 6
In your
damage.
chest.
Okay.
It just goes in. So I'll
It's
roll
just a
that
normal
damage.
arrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
okay.
assume it's not counted as magical.
Yeah, when I was reading your
Um,
spell, I didn't believe that it would be because of how it's phrased. I just wanted to make sure we were on the
Yeah,
same
I
page.
mean, is it the same sort of like normal attack that would have
So
been worked? I guess like if it would have worked on the last creature.
On the Lich? The
Yeah,
Necrolich?
see, that's-
Yeah, so I don't think it would have worked. Like, I mean,
Okay.
I think your arrows just would have gone through it, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because
so that's-
it's just a normal, guaranteed successful attack. They aren't like,
Yeah.
it's just launching them. It isn't encapsulating them, if I understand your
it's
spell.
a
Yeah.
guaranteed hit, but he still has to roll a 1d6 damage.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. In which case, yeah. Go ahead and
Okay. All right.
roll
Uh,
damage.
At least according to all this text.
5 damage. I guess we'll round up. Go ahead.
Okay. 3 whole damage, and then he'll. Let me just make sure. He'll try and thunk the thing with a quarterstaff. -3?
Yes. Okay.
I like how it's. Did you name it with?
Yes.
It's not whiff as in miss. It's like whiff. You know, like.
But also, whiff is in miss.
Yeah, well, that's more of a garnered reputation at this point.
It was quiver silent, but.
Okay, so we roll back up to the frostlights. The one attacking Mera will continue to do so, so it just drifts after her as she nimbly trades out her bow for her melee weapon,
Okay.
and it will once more try to attack her.
All
Mera
right.
confirmed hotter than Picome.
Because you're in metal armor.
Wouldn't that actually make me a lot hotter? Because it would trap all the heat.
I don't know.
Do I
That's a good
have?
question.
Do I have disadvantage when I do the defense again? Can't remember.
No. Sorry,
Just
it's
flat?
flat. Yeah, it's accurate. It's just 10, so no effect.
Critically
And it
missed.
Critically
Roll
missed.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead and roll once more. Oh, wow, that was really
So
close.
close.
All right, well, you do manage to evade it once more with a nimble shift. And
what would have happened if I got another one?
I would have had to look up what happens.
Okay.
I don't know.
You'd probably get like a.
Yeah, I'm not sure what a critical miss is when an NPC does it. Yeah,
Save
we
you
would've-
some work.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't get it, to be honest.
would've
The
been
second
crazy.
frostlight will continue to drift its way towards Dane. It's following him, and it's does move a little erratically, so his quarterstaff just sort of whiffs right through the air that it had occupied a moment as it bobs lower. And then it bobs up and towards him again, and if you could roll defense with no modifiers, it once more seeps into your body and steals away more of your cold. At this point, your arms feel leaden because of the chill. Take 3 more strong damage.
How much more strong do you have?
I can take 2 more hits.
Wow, you're pretty strong.
Yeah.
Well, he was.
Welcome to the Stat Club.
Pekka, you're up.
And I'm flanking.
Do
Yeah.
I start taking health damage as
You
strong
die.
drops below?
You die.
No. This is strong. Health is derived from strength.
Oh,
But if it's lower, it stops at 10.
Yeah, it stops at 10. Your toughness can't drop below 10.
Okay.
Alright. So then, would the total be -1? Because 2 for flanking, and then the -3 for Jiggly Orb.
Yeah, I'm kind of...
She is in melee range.
I mean, you're right that it's in melee. You are both in melee range.
And it's not focusing on me.
It isn't focusing on you. Yeah, go ahead. You have advantage, so it is -1.
Hey, nailed it.
Okay.
So close.
-1 was close.
So
Alright,
with
Mara.
another wild scream from Black Gift, you cleave the air and miss the frostlight. Mera.
I shall stab it with my dagger.
It's a good plan.
Enemy disadvantage.
-3.
I don't like this.
Oh dear. Oh god. I'm having flashbacks.
Hey, I got a chunky hit.
You did. Just keep doing it, please. So,
Look, Dane should just auto kill the one we're fighting, so we can help him.
what is Mera's fighting style with a dagger? How does she move while she's attacking?
She holds it with the blade down, and she kind of. I imagine her to try to hold herself low to the ground, have a low center of gravity, And
Mhm.
so she kind of crouches down, and when she sees an opening, she swings her arm up and tries to jam the blade down through the light, but she just kind of cuts through the air with a wild miss.
Okay, yeah.
So she fights with a reverse grip.
Yes, and she's very light on her feet, which is why she was so able to deftly dodge the attack earlier.
Dane. Your turn. Oh.
He has lost the ability to talk. He's so cool.
Oh, yeah. I just opened up Discord to see the BRB. Okay, well, I was going to describe the frostlights on their turn, but I'll just do it right now. The frostlights are surprisingly difficult to hit, and honestly, the fact that they act with no real intelligence whatsoever makes their movements erratic enough that it is difficult to pin them down. I mean, for one thing, they don't have bodies. They're just sort of ethereal lights floating in the air, which isn't your normal adversary in combat. And for another, they drift around a little piecemeal in ways that just aren't all that predictable. So it's almost a natural course of things for them to sort of just fade from one side to another and without meaning to at all, evade the swing of a staff or a two-handed cursed sword or a dagger, and they continue to drift towards each of you.
Man, Kevin, if I could handle the corruption, like, it'd be so cool. I could light the sword on fire to get their attention to the sword and then just kill them.
They'd be countered. All right, I'm back.
Welcome back. It's your turn.
Yes. Sorry about that. Well, Dane will send one little arrow flitting over to hit the one that is currently being ganged up on.
Nice.
Okay, so you hit that one for 3 damage. So
And then he cheeses it.
you run away from the one
Yes.
harassing you?
Yes.
Oh my god, the 5.
Wow. All
And
right.
then he keeps cheesing it.
Yeah. Okay. So
And
the arrow.
he cheeses it. Hold up. He cheeses it so that the others are between him and it.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Go. Okay. So the arrow just punches right through the center of the frostlight. Fortunately for your companions, at an angle that does not lead into either of their bodies.
Yes, he said hit it, not them.
Yeah. And the light flickers, and it flickers, and then it diffuses, and nothing is left behind. There's just one frostlight now. And that frostlight, denied of its warm meal in the form of Dane, will drift towards the group, but it does just drift near the closest thing, which in this case is now Peiko. And
This is illegal.
this is illegal. It will be attacking her. So if you could go ahead and roll to defend.
Right.
At
Using medium
0.
armor, no shield.
Oof. All right, so go ahead and take 10. Not 10.
10.
Sorry. You're dead.
This is major illegal.
Take 3 damage to your strong.
Can I have normal stats one day in my
It
life?
doesn't look that way now.
Well, clearly the solution to that is to never leave the city and just nap
This
forever.
forest sucks. You see why Picome hates it? Alright, well, I guess it's my turn and there's an orb in me.
Mm-hmm.
Thump it. Thump it with a magic sword.
Is Meira still in melee for this one, or how does this work?
Yep. Still at -1. You are flanking it. I don't. Meira didn't back off, right? She just attacked it.
This is the other one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
it's
am
new.
not thinking straight. No, -3.
Okay.
Yes, it's new and thus relatively unflanked. As such,
Alright. And
little
also
balls of
a
light
lot
can
harder
be
to hit
flanked.
because it just got rid of my hitting stat.
If your accurate's higher, you could maybe use that. Oh, okay.
My ability is use strong instead of accurate.
You
and
can
my accurate's
choose?
also my accurate is also 5.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
well.
I was gonna say I think you could elect to not use it, but it's okay.
Alright.
All right. So Black Gift just wings high over the little critter. Peiko is beleaguered and cold within her armor. Meira, your turn.
Meira is not in melee.
Mm-hmm.
She will swap weapons with her movement
Okay.
and take a shot.
Great. Go ahead.
Disadvantage?
-3.
That's not set up right. I'm sorry. Quit.
It's okay.
Mara does extra damage with bow.
If we were on
6.
top of it, we would have loaded this up yesterday and noticed. But okay.
Arrow goes wild into the woods.
So an arrow, bereft of Dane's guiding magics, just soars off to the side and punches into a tree somewhere in the growing dark. Dane, it is your turn.
Dane, having gained some distance, likewise, he just drops his quarterstaff and readies his bow.
Okay.
And -3.
Yes. Does he? I think you've only used 3 of your arrows, right? Does he attack
Yes.
with one of those? 2?
Yeah, well, he uses one of the from his quiver.
Right.
And then he sends a free one flying
Okay.
after it.
Okay.
So,
So-
3 damage.
4, if we're rounding up.
Yeah, I rounded up this time. I can't remember what's official. We'll look into it later. It doesn't matter too much. So yeah, that's a good old 4 damage. It's still there. It does flicker weakly for a moment before reasserting itself. And then it's the Frostlight's turn. Yeah, so a pair of arrows sear through the Frostlight. Mara might claim that one of them is hers. It's dark. And then it drifts forward to try and seep back into Peiko's body. Go ahead and roll a defend.
Hey.
Excellent. So Peiko, I mean, you can go ahead and describe how you defend. Really, do you stagger back weakly or what?
Dragging the sword along the ground, she just sort of stumbles out of the way.
Mm-hmm. There's an angry note to the sword's keening as you stagger out of the way. It wants to fight. It doesn't care about dodging. It doesn't care about anything else. It just wants violence, and it is singing that song to the world right now. I guess it's your turn. Go ahead.
All right, well. Hey.
Nice.
Excellent. So you do more than enough damage to sunder this little Frostlight from existence.
So Picome stumbles back, the sword dragging along the ground, leaving a line in the dirt, and then using what strength she has left, she lifts it behind her over her head, and then with a mighty swing just cleaves down the middle, the scream crescendoing as it cuts through.
Excellent. I love it. The sword, tears through it, and the song just builds with that kill. And the light flickers and vanishes. And as the sword hits the ground in the after swing, because there's nothing to slow the blow as you strike through the ethereal target, it quiets. And then then sorry. Then you're left in the aftermath of the fight. It has darkened quite a bit now. You can still see, but it's kind of grainy, kind of gray. And you haven't made it to the point, but you are surely close. That said, it's up to you whether you push on or you take some rest where you can find it.
Picome is busy slowly putting away the sword.
Meira looks distrustfully at Picome and the blade, and she scurries over to her brother. Brother, are you hurt?
Don't want to do that again, Dane says very tiredly.
It was trying to eat you.
I want to take a nap.
Yeah, have some food.
Dane starts eating food.
And then she slinks up to Picome.
Picome looks at her. I know you know words.
Your blade talks.
It's sing, she clarifies.
I hate it.
Picome does not hear the screaming when she has the sword out.
It's awful. Can you walk?
Of course, I can walk, she says gruffly.
We should find a better place for camp.
We're going to need a fire tonight.
Dane looks a little uncomfortable about that, but
While violently shaking.
yeah, doesn't disagree.
Let us try to find a better place for a fire. This is not a good spot.
Clearly. She mutters.
And Meira will try to find a better place for a campfire.
All right. Well, let's see. You can find a place. The ground has kind of started to level out just a little bit again. So you might want to backtrack and head further away from the river to the southwest. Like backtrack to the southwest,
Yes.
not that the river is to the southwest. And there's a little more hilly terrain there. There's nothing that's gonna make you comfortable with making a fire. I mean, a lot of your childhood was probably learning not to light fires in Davokar when you aren't like in a settlement, you know.
Mhm.
But needs must sometimes, and you can chance it. And there will be a somewhat secluded area for you to kind of hunker down in, sort of in a copse between two hills.
We cannot light the fire for long, but huddle close. We will make one now.
Okay. Yeah, Dane will, if they're settling down, he'll light the fire, and then he'll kind of head off to look for a bit more food. Just around.
No, you should stay here. Have some of my bread.
Dane will kind of tiredly point at the 2 arrows left, still kind of floating.
All right, do not go far.
Dane comes back without much at all.
But the arrows can't miss.
But he has to find things for the arrows to hit.
The arrows look slightly sad when he comes back. They're just floating a little lower.
And then, yeah, Dan will kind of just set to cooking pretty readily. He's pretty happy to be by the fire and using it.
Picome sits down next to the fire, her arm resting on one knee that's crooked up.
Maida will keep watch. She'll keep the campfire within line of sight, but she won't stand near it.
Mm-hmm.
Some distance, and her attention will be to keep watch, basically.
Okay. And you other two are basically just gonna warm yourselves for a while and eat and then sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Mayra, you give me a vigilant check. It will be at -2. Well,
The green
Okay.
made me think it was a success at first.
yeah. All seems well. There's a nagging disquiet probably in your gut while the fire is lit. And from where you're standing, you probably don't look at the fire often because you want to preserve what night vision you have.
Mhm.
But it's hard not to see the trail of smoke that filters upward into the leaves of the trees and above. But also, you want your companions to live, or at least half of them to live. So it's a necessity. You do your best to keep your eyes out on what's going on here and there around the forest, but you don't quite manage to catch sight of anything in particular. It all seems fairly quiet for the night, and the rest of your watch passes uneventfully.
I think by the end of her watch, she would want to stomp out the fire, especially the darker it gets. And she would slap her hand on Picome's helmet.
Wake up, Picome. It is I, Maida.
This time, Picome is gonna try to grab Mayra's hand.
You now have her hand, and she wiggles her fingers.
Stop touching the helmet.
You're awake. Good.
She just kind of flumps down right next to Picome.
Picome is just gonna shake her head. And then, do what she did before. Slowly take off the helmet. Put on her hood. And then, this time, she's a bit more exhausted, so she's just gonna, like, sit on the periphery of camp.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, you don't even need to roll for vigilant at this point. You don't see anything that really strikes your notice. Sorry, when you said you were sitting on the edge of camp, is she like worn out enough that she is just gonna be staying still instead of marching around this time?
Yeah, like she'll look around, but she's like leaned up against the tree, mostly
Yeah.
sitting.
I feel you. How glossy is Peiko's armor? Just out of curiosity.
She cleans it most nights.
Okay. Cool. The night passes. You know, Peiko's a disciplined girl, so she knows how to kind of shoulder through discomfort. She keeps her eyes out, but nothing appears to happen at this stage of the night, and your watch passes uneventfully.
Picome will shake Dane slightly. Wake up, you loaf, it's your turn.
Dane will sit up, start reaching around until he finds the nearest food item, set to eating, and go sit by the horse and start watching.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me vigilant at -2.
Okay, that's what I'm good at.
Why would you say that?
You're right, you're right.
We are just like incredibly vigilant.
Again, as the night begins to warm and the lights finally begin to kind of creep their way back in and darkness passes, you do sense a little bit of movement here or there as wildlife just makes its way on around the camp and maybe the curious attention of an animal. For a moment, just before dawn is breaking, you might have sort of a sense of something, but you look around, and despite your practiced gaze, nothing immediately springs to mind. So chances are it's just the disquiet that comes with travel in Davokar, and as far as you can tell, everything's quiet.
Okay. Once, it starts to get light enough to travel, or even a bit before that, Dane will wake everyone up and start to pick up the camp.
Okie dokes. Remember to heal up a stat point. I would say Peiko ought to do that. Even if you're not enjoying travel in the forest, she's probably
That time she was too exhausted. and
gotten
not
used
sleep.
to it. Yeah, fatigued enough to just rest.
One day I will be back to my 80 stats. One day.
Well, it's looking increasingly unlikely.
One day Mayor won't lead us into some ethereal construct that just saps away our will to live.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
It has done nothing but the opposite.
What doesn't kill you will make you eventually stronger. Many days from now, you need a vacation.
Meira, after the camp's been set up, will continue leading them eastward, following the river. Definitely some distance from the water line, if possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the third day of travel. So it's going to take about 3 or 4 hours to get to your destination, or at least where you think it is. And yeah, so we will check about a discrete roll again. This time, because you did have an encounter, the modifier is reset to a flat 0. All right, go ahead and roll me a 1d20.
Oh my god.
Hey! Bad.
Number's a whole lot lower than you've been doing so far.
I win.
You're very
Alright.
consistent at rolling a 19 for that check.
Encounters in open Davokar, an 8, though, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, let's see. You find, as you venture down the river, a narrow vessel, like a river craft, is found pulled up from the shoreline, nestled under a tree as you march your way along. And of course, you are some distance from the water, but you can spot it. and it might give your group pause. It looks like it was made from a tree, in very barbarian fashion, although not a tribe that's known or especially familiar to either of you. But at first, at least, you don't see anything but the vessel.
Does it, at a glance, look like it's been expertly crafted or kind of makeshift?
So it's a little difficult to tell because it's holed up, so it's on its side, folded, leaning against a tree. So really, all you can tell is the underside. It looks like it's made from one piece of wood.
Okay.
It's long and it's pretty well formed. It's very proportional and symmetrical. So it seems sturdily crafted, but that's about the best that you can make out.
Look there, there's a boat.
What of it?
People nearby.
Is the boat like tied to anything, or is it just?
We are.
No, it's just sitting there.
Can we see? Is there anything in the boat?
So it's holed up on its side, so you can't really tell.
Mhm.
Something might be nestled beneath it, but no one could make it out for sure.
We will have to get closer if you want to see.
I think the more important thing is seeing where whoever had the boat went. Can you find their trail, Mayra?
We might have to move closer to it. But I will try.
She gestures with her hand.
I look at the ground. I search for tracks.
Okay. So does Mira slink up alone to search for tracks, or the other?
Stay here,
hanging back?
Pekome. You are very noisy.
Dane likewise stays back.
Brotherly protection.
Peiko may adjust the shield on her arm to get ready.
Okay. So Peiko stands there and loudly adjusts a shield. Meira steals forward to get an eye on the boat and what tracks may lie around the area. Go ahead and test for vigilance with an enemy disadvantage of a +1.
Cool.
This is your moment.
This is what you're good at. And you're prepped. You're primed.
I did a great job.
So you do
She
find
says that.
tracks. There are a few sets of footprints. It's a little difficult to make out just how many because of the way they overlap, but not too many because it's not much of a disturbance. A few sets of feet head away from the river, deeper into the forest south of you. The foliage actually gets quite dense in that direction, so you would have to actually follow the tracks to get much more of a picture than that. But you do have a general idea of where the people who own this ship have gone.
Okay. I will boldly scuttle closer to the boat and inspect the boat and its contents.
Okay. So the boat is it's a pretty narrow vessel, and given that it's the only boat around, you'd estimate that it can hold 2, maybe 3 people. There's nothing in it, given that it's, upturned. But beneath it, there are a pair of packs. They're made of hide, and they're worn, but exceptionally well made, and full, although you can't really tell with what. On the outside, there hang a couple bedrolls and water skins and such.
Do the tracks look fresh, like within the last few hours?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Maida will slink away without touching anything, and she'll return to the two of them.
There are perhaps 2 or 3 tracks leading away. And she gestures towards the direction that they were headed. There are supplies by the boat.
Could this be maybe whatever group has been giving trouble to the previous adventurers?
Perhaps.
Could be the previous visitors, Dane suggests.
I do not think so. The tracks are only a few hours old. The adventurers we are looking for have been missing for a week.
So unless Aldous took a week to get here, probably not her.
I highly doubt it.
So, she looks between the two of them, more specifically at Mayra, and asks, so what do you think? Should we try to track down these two or push on past and see if we can find a better trail for Aldous or the other group?
We should continue.
And then she spares a glance towards Dane.
Dane definitely nods agreeingly.
And we do not give them a reason to chase us. I did not touch their things.
Good, that wasn't an option.
Meira turns away to lead the group, and she rolls her eyes when Bekome can't see,
Which is pretty often.
and thinks, I should have taken something. Just out of spite.
All right.
So Meira would say, keep an eye out. We are not alone.
So you try to make your way forward. Are y'all as a group trying to be a little, more stealthy right now, or what?
Yeah, Meira would advise that because we don't know their intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dane will be as quiet as, which isn't, greatly quiet, but he'll do his best.
Okay. Cool.
Pekome will tighten her various straps so that her armor moves a little less.
Sounds good. You guys continue on. Let's see. After perhaps 30 minutes, 35 minutes, each of you can make a vigilance test -1.
So you're saying is it's guaranteed?
Well, you go ahead and roll again. Okay.
Hey, that didn't say a critical failure.
I mean, it's a 20.
Hey, that was a success, so clearly I succeeded.
Okay. So after 30 minutes or so, maybe the pressure's off. You don't hear anything. Things seem to have just continued on stably. You guide your horse forward.
Meira in her head is, everything's fine. This is fine. This is fine.
Punctuated by the creak clomp.
Mayra's just thinking the whole
horse.
Mayra's just thinking the whole time about Bone Crusher. That's why she's not super vigilant.
No, she can't hear her own thoughts over the sound of you tromping through the woods.
Jingle, crush, jingle, stomp, crush, jingle.
All the way.
Nothing seems amiss, or more amiss than is usual for your group.
Mhm.
And before long, you hear the river draw a little nearer, and then you see ahead of you another spur of the river. that's heading south. And you can still see the river to your north, so you aren't mispositioned. It just means you have come to the bend in the river, and you see
Oh, a map.
in the forest, some distance down from the waters, or sorry, some distance down from the northern waters along the southern spur, you find a set of ruins. And this is actually quite a tall set of ruins, but the scale might not seem quite that way to you guys. In the distance,
I have updated our team name on my character sheet.
have you? What's your team name?
The Three Blind Mice.
That's quite fitting, truth be told. I guess I should actually put Mayra up front, huh? Here we go. So you guys discover this ruin, and as you draw nearer, you find a few things of interest. There's a campfire set out along the log just outside the ruins. Or the ashes of a campfire, I should say. It looks like it hasn't been used in some time. But it is a fire, and that seems ill-advised to your every instinct. And a short distance beyond that, near the corner of the wood line, you actually see a body that's face down. It's difficult to make out much of it. Much of the body is actually hidden by the frame of the stone ruin, but you can see the boots and the legs of a person. And shortly after that, you hear a rustling from within the stone ruins. And that is where we will pause or stop our session for the night.
Okay.
Yay! Thank you so much.
We made it with only a net overall loss of 4 stat points, probably.
I lost 2. You had lost 6.
How did you lose less than
Well,
3?
I lost 2 after we healed. And
Yeah.
you
So
had
I
healed
lost 5 after we healed.
So 7
So,
total.
yeah, 7, only down 7 stat points.
And Mira, that's
That's-
0.
Yeah.
That's much better than when our first session where I was down like 18 stat points.
Yeah, it's
Progress.
a lot better.
All right. Thank you so much, Obdurant, for dungeon mastering our session. Hope everybody enjoyed it. This was episode 3 of Alight and Davokar. And we hope that you will join us again next time. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.